Careful, it's hot.
Thank you.
I wasn't talking to you.
Oh, so smooth. Hi friends. So I've had a few people requesting a brow tutorial for me, or a new one, because the last one I posted is a little out of date and probably should be taken down because no one should be taking my advice 2 years ago. As you may have noticed, if you've been here long enough, that just over a year ago, I actually shaved off the tails of my brows and never went back. I actually really enjoy the ability to play with the shape of my brows without totally getting rid of them. And sometimes a little baby Spock brow is a vibe. Changing the structure of my brows really actually changes the shape of my whole face. It's been really fun to kind of play around with new techniques and new products and trying to figure out what works best for me. These techniques might not apply to you because you might have full brows and you won't need to do all of these stupid steps. But for those who have always wanted to try living their lives with only half brows, this might be the video for you, and this might encourage you to take that step. And here's where my imposter syndrome just comes flying at me, but I'm gonna try to ignore it. If that is something that interests you, if that is something that pertains to you, please keep on watching. Let's get started. There are 3 products that I use to fluff, shape, and define my brows. The writing's completely worn off of this, but it's because I use it pretty much every day. It is the Benefit Gimme Brow. It is their brow gel. It has a tiny micro spoolie. I use this to fluff and add color and texture into the remainder of my brow first, and then I start building a shape with my favorite brow pencil to date. It is the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil in the shade 4. It just has the perfect texture. It's not too waxy, not too soft, not too hard. It has the perfect fine tip for precise application, and also has a really nice high quality spoolie at the end as well that doesn't break. Every Anastasia brow pencil I've ever used breaks. Okay, and the last thing that I use, which is actually a recent addition, is the Urban Decay Brow Blade. I don't use the pencil side. It actually was significantly not my fave, but the marker side is actually super useful to draw in little defined hair strokes, especially at the front, or if you're doing a really feathered brow shape. It's really easy if you don't have hair to mimic hair strokes. It's a shame that it only comes at the end of another brow pencil. That's a bit of a shame, but I still like using the marker. If anyone has any brow marker recommendations, please send them my way because I love working with a brow marker. Anyway, let's get a move on because it's been already too long and I've already talked way too much and I still have to film another video tonight, so let's start. So first off, I start with the Gimme Brow Gel and run that through what I already have, just so I kind of have a base of where to start. By using a brow gel at the front of my brows, it kind of stops me from overdoing it with the pencil. I have a tendency to get them super blocky, and it gives more of a feathered texture to the overall brow. I'm trying to avoid super blocky brows because that was my MO for a long time. And looking back on those photos now, I don't know how I even let that happen in the first place. So now we're gonna pick up the pencil and actually create the shape of the brow by just sketching out kind of naturally where if you feel around and you feel your brow bone. And then I kind of just like to trace around that bone. It's not always the same. I've definitely experimented with many a shape. These days I try to keep them a little higher than where my natural brow would actually be, but not super arched. I'm just trying to create a more lifted brow shape than what I would naturally have. Naturally, my brows just kind of live in this area right here below where I'm painting, and that kind of dragged my face downward in this sort of downturned sad clown kind of look, and it was kind of dragging my whole face shape down. Sometimes you just gotta tell Mother Nature to shove it. And then what I do with the pencil is connect the 2 areas of brow and no brow and try and make it as seamless as possible. And that's why having your gel and your pencil match in tone is very important. It It helps with this camouflage. And let's face it, it's not really like, no one's looking at my eyebrow and thinking, wow, that's a really natural looking brow. And that's not necessarily what I'm going for either. I do like having a more stylized brow. As far as my face shape goes, I do feel like this style of brow gives my whole face a lift, and instead of dragging my eye shape downward like my brows used to, it actually kind of pulls everything up. I like to keep the tail not too long. I've noticed that like a lot of my brows have actually become a bit too long for my face shape. The tails just sort of hang off the edge of my face a little bit in a way. I don't really know how else to describe it, so I'm trying to keep them a little bit more contained these days. This is where the spoolie kind of comes in hand. You can actually use it to taper down where you've drawn. You can also use it to break up any blotchiness or patchiness that's happened with the brow pencil. If you've gone over one part too many times and you've created like little clumps of brow product, you can break those up with the spoolie. And then I like to just sort of blend in especially the bottom of the brow and then draw little hair strokes up just to feather them. Again, not wanting them super blocky at the front, keeping that pretty sparse, but also making sure that there are no gaps. And then once I'm happy with the shape of that, I'm going to take this marker and I'm going to further blend these two areas together and also defining the bottom edge a little bit more. Not necessarily filling in the whole thing with the marker, just because I think that'll create more of a tattooed brow effect, but just giving a tiny bit of definition on the bottom. This way, if you are accurate enough, you don't have to clean up with concealer and you get that nice sort of defined edge. And then I like to take the marker and just draw those hair strokes again, especially through the front, just to create a bit more density. That's pretty much it. For now, I'm happy with how this looks. That could change in a month. My brow shape has definitely evolved over the years. Sometimes I feel like it's different from video to video. As long as you feel like it's flattering and it looks good on you, then that's kind of all that matters. But for now, this is kind of the shape I've been going for the last like month or so. Trying not to be super overarched, trying not to be too long, and trying to balance out that arch with your brow bone. Anyway, I'm gonna do the other one off camera and I will be right back. So, fun fact about brows and brow structure is that the face is asymmetric. So you are never gonna get twin brows because your bone structure on both sides of your face is slightly different, which means that I am constantly fighting to get two relatively similar brows. Sometimes I think I've nailed it and then I pull back and realize I really didn't, or it'll take me until I'm actually watching my own video for me to realize that, wow, they are in no way, shape, or form symmetrical at all. When you're just working with your fingers and the feeling of your bone structure, you just want to follow that. But when I'm doing that on this side, it creates an entirely different shape. But as it is written, sisters, not twins. And I've learned to just let it go, which is very hard for someone who's incredibly anal retentive. And sometimes it's better to get the bigger picture anyway. So pulling back from that tiny mirror you have right up close to your face is always a good thing. I think I did okay today with trying to get the height and the shape vaguely symmetrical. This side of my face is a little flatter than this side and I don't really know why or how that even works, but it just feels like this side I'm always fighting for more volume in certain areas. I think that's why people have a good side, you know, because this side has like a lot more cheek definition, it's a lot more lifted, and this side just kind of doesn't do anything. Anyway, I'm gonna go and finish my makeup, film another video, and we will come back and wrap this all up. Oh, hey there. It is a couple of days later. I forgot to film an outro for this particular tutorial, but I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, especially for people who have half-shaved brows like I do, and I definitely don't have it all figured out. So if you have any tips or tricks you want to add to the comments down below, please leave them there. Brows are about the journey and not the destination, and these brows have definitely been on a journey. If you haven't checked out this video where we try out a bunch of Colourpop, check that link up here. I will leave it there. Yeah, so let's just close this out. Here are the many ways you can help out my channel. You can give this video a thumbs up, you can comment down below, you can subscribe, you can follow me on other social media. My Instagram is at Madelaide, the same way it is spelled here, and my Twitter is at madsuds, which is MADDSUDZ. You can visit the Patreon link down below in my description box, and that's it for me, and that's it for this tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope it is helpful for you on your brow journey, and that is all I have to say, except for please be kind, be generous to everyone you meet out there in the world today, and I will see you on the next one. Bye guys.